Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeanette and today's video is another whole food plant-based basics where we're going to talk about winter squash. We're getting into the cooler months now here in the northeastern United States where I live, so squash is abundant right now, and as you can see behind me here I have an assortment of it. I kind of did some of my natural weightlifting, dragging these out of the grocery store, but there were a lot of different ones, so I picked up as many as I could find, and we're going to go through those here in just a minute. So I'm going to refer to my cheat sheet here for a little bit of this. Winter squash tends to have a thick skin. Here, like I said, in the northeastern US, they are abundant in the fall and winter months, and typically they can be stored for longer periods of time. One source I read suggested 1 to 2 months in a cool, dry place. Another source said some varieties might be able to be stored a little bit longer and used throughout the winter months. When picking a squash, you want to avoid blemishes. The squash should feel heavy for its size. The stem should be firm, and you know that it's ripe and ready when the stem is dry. The skin color should be matte, not shiny, and the skin color should be nice and rich. I did a quick internet search for some varieties of winter squash, and here are some that I have listed: butternut, spaghetti, honey nut, which is sweeter than butternut, acorn, delicata, kabocha, buttercup, hubbard, carnival, pumpkin, and black futsu, which is a Japanese heirloom. Now, from what I've read, the skin on a few of these varieties is edible. Acorn, delicata, and black futsu, the ones that are on my list here. Apparently, the skin is edible on those. The only winter squash that I have eaten the skin on is delicata. I've never eaten the skin on an acorn, and I've never tried a black futsu, but we have one here today, so I'll show you what it looks like. Again, that would be, do a little bit of research on that, see if it truly is edible. If you know of any that are edible, please leave a comment down below. But again, delicata is the only one where I've actually eaten the skin on it, because the skins tend to be a little bit thick on these. Now, they contain seeds, and I know, at least with some of these, you can clean the seeds and roast them or toast them, and they're edible. Which varieties exactly, I'm not sure, because I don't really use the seeds out of them. I do buy seeds though. So we have a local company that produces seeds, and I did find butternut pepitas. So these are brined and roasted butternut squash seeds. And of course I always keep some pumpkin seeds on hand. But so I just buy the seeds, in a package. But if you know anything about removing the seeds, which ones are edible, maybe they all are, I don't know, but if you have any information on that, on the seeds, and how to, clean them and cook them, then please leave a comment down below. All right, so come on over and I'll show you what I've got here. So we'll start with probably one of the more familiar ones here. I've got a nice, good-sized organic butternut squash, and it is locally grown right here near where I live. This is the one that we're going to work with today. I think this is a very familiar one to a lot of people. It's one that I eat on the regular, and we're going to do very simple roasted butternut squash today. This is a spaghetti squash, and these are fun because when you cut these guys in half and you cook them, you can take a fork and shred this, and it comes out like spaghetti strands, and that's exactly what it looks like. It's not as high in calories as pasta, so just keep that in mind. But a lot of people do use this in place of spaghetti, and they can put sauce on it and things, but these are a lot of fun and they're very good. This guy here, this is an acorn squash, and these are great if you cut them in half, scoop out the seeds, you can rub it with a little olive oil. These are great when you roast them and then stuff them with some delicious rice and mushroom stuffing or something along those lines. Oh, they're so good. They're great if you just dice them up and roast them or cut them into half moon shapes or whatever. But acorn squash are really, really great, and they're one of the more popular ones that we have here too. Delicata squash. And you'll see it's yellow with these beautiful green stripes. This is one of the ones where I do eat the skin because out of all of the winter squash that I get, the skin is a little bit thinner on this, and it's very good. So you can just slice it in half and then cut little crescent shapes, you know, half moon shapes, and then roast this, and it's really excellent. These adorable little squash are called brulee. They are delicious. If you think of creme brulee, these are like the squash equivalent of that. They're very, very good. They look like a little butternut squash, so I kind of handle them the same way. You know, you can peel them, cut them in half, take the seeds out of them and roast them. This one here looks very similar to a butternut squash. This is called a honey nut, and we talked about this a little earlier. It is sweeter than a butternut, but I handle it the same way, just like I would do with the brulee squash. Peel it, get rid of the top and bottom also on these. Slice them in half, get the seeds out, and roast them. This one, which I've never tried before, this one is a buttercup, and you can see that nice dry stem on top. Okay, so this is a buttercup squash, so you can see it's really gorgeous. And the one that I've never tried or seen before is this one, and this is locally grown. This is an organic black futsu. So this is the Japanese heirloom squash, and I honestly can't find a whole lot of information about it online. I did find some videos on how to prepare it, so this is going to be new to me. We're not going to do it in this video because I still need to experiment with it, but this is what it looks like. And then we know what pumpkins look like. I didn't pick up any of those. Now, we're not talking about the jack-o'-lanterns, you know, that you carve for Halloween, but there are smaller varieties of pumpkins that you can get that fall into this category. Today, we're gonna make very easy roasted butternut squash. Now, I could work with this squash and show you how to do it, but I have some that's already cut up too. Squash can be very difficult to work with. You have to be very careful when you're cutting these because they're heavy and they take kind of a lot of force sometimes to get a knife through them, so be very careful. But the way that I break down a butternut squash is I peel it with a vegetable peeler, then I cut off the top and the bottom, so I have two flat surfaces here. For one this size, I honestly would cut it right about here where the bulb meets the long skinny part here. So I would cut it right here in half, and all the seeds live in this part right here. So then I would cut, I have now two pieces, right? So I would stand them up and cut down the long way now, okay? So then you can scoop the seeds out of here. And again, you'll have to let me know in the comments if you roast and eat butternut squash seeds. I just discard them. But scoop those out, you know, and then you can start cutting this into like 1-inch cubes, and then you can roast them. My grocery store offers butternut squash, and I often see delicata squash too, already cut up, which makes life a lot easier for me. So you can see they cut it up into cubes. The only problem with buying it like this is it's got a shorter shelf life, obviously, than an intact squash. So I bought this weekend. We need to use this up. So this is what I'm going to use. And we're going to do a very easy roasted butternut squash in the oven. Now, when you roast vegetables, it brings out their natural sweetness. It's one of my favorite ways to cook a lot of things. Sweet potatoes, butternut squash, you name it. I use a parchment paper lined baking sheet, and I have split my squash into two halves because I'm going to show you the difference between roasting with a little bit of oil and roasting without any oil. I always used to roast without oil, and since I started using maybe just a half a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, I think it browns up really nice, but more importantly, it doesn't dry out as fast. But we're gonna do an experiment because it has been a while since I've done this with no oil. So the right hand side over here will be no oil, and over here I am just gonna use a tiny bit, my oven's ready, a tiny bit of extra virgin olive oil, maybe a half a teaspoon, and just like that. And I'm gonna rub it in my hands, and I am just gonna coat the squash here on this side with the oil. So all I'm going to use is a little bit of sea salt here on both sides, just give it a light season, and a little bit of pepper. You could use whatever seasonings you like. You could do cinnamon, you could do garlic, you could do thyme, sage. a lot of things pair up nicely with butternut squash. All right, 400 degrees Fahrenheit on the oven, and I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes, and I checked several pieces by piercing with a knife, and they're nice and soft, so these are all done. Now let's take a look at the side that I used a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. So you can see the pieces are nice and glossy, and they browned up. So that's that side with the oil. And let's look at the pieces that did not have any oil on them. They still browned up nicely, and you can see the texture looks just a little bit more dry on the surface. But they both cooked up, and they're nice and soft. They both browned. This is really just a personal preference. So if you don't use any oil, roasting is a definite option. One thing I also learned, if you're not using oil, is like halfway through, you could just spritz or use like a tablespoon at a time and put a little vegetable broth on these. You don't want them to steam, you want them to roast though, so don't add too much liquid if you're gonna do that. But I didn't do a thing to these. I left them alone for 30 minutes, and that is how they look. Now, if you're not opposed to using any oil, this is how you can expect things to look, a little bit more glossy, not so dried out. But again, just a personal preference. Both sides turned out great. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to prepare some roasted butternut squash. You can roast squash like I did. You can also microwave it, steam it, boil it. You can use it to make a soup. You can make it into a delicious cheese sauce. Maybe put that over some cooked macaroni and make a macaroni and cheese. You can eat it by itself or as a side dish, or dress it up for the holidays, maybe with some sauteed greens, some dried cranberries, some pumpkin seeds, a little thyme and sage. That would be really good. If you have any other ideas on how to cook and eat any of the winter squashes, please leave a comment down below. And before I end this video, I also wanted to let you know that I just created a digital magazine. It's for free to download on my website. I'll put the link to that in the description box down below. This is the autumn issue, and it has the roasted butternut squash recipe in there. So I just wanted to let you know about that. I'm going to try to do a digital magazine every couple of months. If there's a lot of interest in it, I might end up charging like $1 or so for it. But for right now, it's free. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great week.